that time you were keeping me straight. I was bleeding powers. In my mind it was never too late, and the days were ours. Sure, the waves still make spray at the old seawall. And the road leads somewhere, but it's not yet to your door. Yeah, the road leads somewhere, but it's not yet to your door. Let's go down to the old South End where we used to meet. Take me back to the basements in Annie's on Walbridge Street. Oh, but in the lonely make me sadder when I can't conjure ghosts no more. And the road leads somewhere, but it's not yet to your door. Yeah, the road leads somewhere, but it's not yet to your door.
Alright, you guys should be able to hear me. We're gonna get started soon. Alright. This is what we're working with here. This is a double page spread for Cave Carson has a cybernetic eye number 11. This is page 4 and 5. So before I kind of tweaked the flats already so that the boring stuff is kind of out of the way. And I kind of messed with the alpha channels a little bit to kind of separate some planes. We're going to try to do at least all of this stuff on stream. The panels on the right side might not get done on stream because I think this might be something like a 4-hour page in front of us. So yeah, we're gonna at least do the left side. So what we have here is the whisper on the giants, and it's taken over their bodies, and it's making the crazy skull things, and they're attacking Paris, and you're lurking. Good. I love my lurkers. Chat is toxic. Love my lurkers. Yeah, so we got skeleton warriors back here. I think what we're going to try to do for this piece is, obviously the fire is going to be real hot and bright. We want to make it feel chaotic and warm and crazy, like it's a riot. So we're going to probably wash the buildings and stuff in like a red, orangey kind of thing. We're going to make it like weird lighting. It's supposed to be at night. Mike provided, if you click over to the layers, so Mike provided all this kind of like crazy like Kirby dots all over the whole thing, which is awesome. Yeah. Because I would do it, but it wouldn't come out quite as good as he did it. He painted them in really well. And furthermore, he like crushed this thing. It looks great. So he did that, and he actually also did the veins down here separately, and the little red light on the Eiffel Tower back here. So the goal here is chaos orange down here. We're gonna make the whisper kind of like puffy with smoke, and we're gonna fade these guys kind of into the background, but highlight the skull wrap that they have. Their de-skinned faces by making those kind of glow a little bit. And kind of in reaction to that, we'll figure out the sky. Because the sky's got to pop really well, because that's where a lot of the excitement is. But we can't figure out how to do that yet until we figure out everything else. So that's the tactic. So we're gonna get into it in just a second here. All right, so let's do the buildings first. So I'm just grabbing all the buildings. We're gonna wash it, I guess, in like a red. Now, it's gonna look bad, but it's gonna give us a jumping off point. Uh, the reason that it looks bad, it's just that uh, the base color was this, like greenish, and when you mix the opposite ends of the color wheel together, it turns into like a brown, and that's not what we want, but we'll figure it out. Oh, no, there's not going to be any guests in the stream. Sometimes I do streams with guests, and I know other colorists have talked to me about it, but the only reason I was tagging them was so that they could retweet it if they would like. Uh, Although I should get guests in the stream, maybe in the future. We're going to be doing much more Cave Carson, so uh, it could be a thing in the future. Because it would be nice to pick John and Gerard's brain when it comes to writing this stuff. Uh, there's a lot of stuff that in their writing that I am only starting to click with now. They so before I get started here, I also started scanning old. I've been making my own zip tones, and when you look at this, it's like, oh, this is just a zip tone on the right side. It's just black white dots. Uh, but when you zoom out, it's an actual image, and I pulled it from these comics, these old showcase Silver Age Cave Carson stuff. Uh, so the goal is to kind of like echo Cave's past in the zip tones. We're gonna try to achieve that. Here's another one where it's like it's an image and now it's just a zip tone. Um, we're gonna try to inject these in, especially with this issue, which I cannot spoil, but it's especially relevant to this issue, Cave Carson's past. I mean, his baggage is always on his sleeve. He he leads a life kind of governed by his own shit that he went through. No offense, Cave. Uh, so yeah, the book kind of like syncs up in like these really nice ways with like the old books that I hadn't realized until I started picking through it. John and Gerard in this issue, they reference the lava monster that Cave fights in his first appearance, which is Brave and the Bold 38, I think, from 1960. Which is totally awesome. It's just a little piece in there for anyone who is paying attention. Anyone who is like a vintage fan or bothered to pick up the issues. But uh, they're hard to come by. I got like 6 of them and spent a gratuitous amount of money on it. Like probably more than I should have at Heroes Aren't Hard to Find in Charlotte. Uh, But it looked like DC was going to come out with a collection of all the old Cave Carsons at some point, but it got listed on Amazon. I saw it listed on Amazon, but they don't share anything with me. They don't let me know these things. Uh, San Diego Comic Con is also this weekend, so I don't know if DC has anything planned to announce, but I know we're doing more Cave Carson, so I don't want to spoil anything, but it's going to be out there, and hopefully they'll be announcing stuff, because I don't want to keep it under wraps. It's good stuff we got going on. So we're going to get in, start rendering the buildings here. It would be nice to have Oming on the stream too. We've worked together a long, long time. We've worked together since like, gosh, 2005, so 12 years. Um, yeah, and I know that he's thinking a lot about layouts, and he thinks about layouts in a way that none of the other artists that I work with really think about. Which I think they're not as Mike is very experimental anytime he works, and it'd be neat to pick his brain apart with it when it comes to that stuff. Pick his brain for that info. I don't think he gets enough credit for it, personally. Uh, like even this, like doing triangle panels is like freaking nuts. Like who does triangle? Like it looks when you see it over here, you're like, oh, that makes sense. But like, when you actually start like flipping through comics and look at as many comics as I look at, you don't see that. For anyone looking to listen to something while I'm working here, I did publish below me a playlist for Chloe Carson. This is uh, John and Mike put together. I'm sorry I'm saying so much. It's because I'm also focused on doing this. They put together a playlist uh, for Cave Carson, and it was kind of like a playlist for the whole book. And it's great. It's a great playlist. I'm not trying to take anything away from what they were doing, but I felt like Chloe and Wild Dog especially were underrepresented. Chloe is actually my favorite character in this book. I think that she has some depth that you're gonna see, especially you're gonna see it a lot, like hinted at in the issue that's coming out tomorrow, and it's gonna be built upon in the coming issues as well. It gets real good. Oh man, I actually the first page of this was right in the feels. I don't get a whole lot of, I don't really get emotional reading scripts because there's scripts, there's no art, but I only have a handful of the pages of this issue so far, so I had to understand like where everything was and what was going on and what the previous scenes might look like. Uh, and the first scene is just such a gut wrencher. Like Gerard and John really put together an incredible. It's just an incredible book. I love this book. All right, so we're gonna start painting in some shingles. This is the riveting stuff that you can't get anywhere else, where we slowly render shingles for the next minute. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm trying not to. I really want to talk about like the last issue and this issue, but I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody. But y'all, if you're even just a casual fan of Cave, issue 10 is fucking nuts. Like, and there's a bunch of new characters that get introduced. So, I don't know if these characters are going to stick around in the DCU, but if you're a collector, potential first appearances from characters are usually worth a little bit of money. I've been trying to complete a collection of the Batman the Animated Series comics because I worked on some of them while I was at Xylenol doing flats. I was doing flats on them. I wasn't actually doing the work, but uh, I wanted to pick some of them up, and then I was like, well, let's get the whole run. And little did I know that the first appearance of Harley Quinn is in there, and that book is like crazy expensive. So I'm not saying we have a first appearance of Harley Quinn on our hands, but you never know. Like she was a character that was just for the cartoon, and there's characters that are just for this that are going to get introduced, and you never know what like resonates with people. And so yeah, you should definitely go to the shop tomorrow and pick up Cave 10. So the roof's looking all right, but I kind of want it a little greener because it had like Paris kind of has that like green tinged like roof thing going on. Uh, I don't know if it's like copper. It must be copper. Um, whatever metal that like oxidizes into green. So all right, let's tweak the windows a little bit. And now something to keep in mind is like the note this book tries to hit is psychedelic. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but so it can't just be fire, chaos, regular superhero comic. When I actually started doing Cave Carson, that's what I turned in for the first issue. It was just like, here's a regular book. Uh, I just colored it like every other superhero book. And when I turned it in, they were like, this looks good. There's nothing technically wrong with it. And Gerard especially was instrumental in putting together uh, the look of Young Animal and the feel. And he was like, this looks great, but we really want something different, something that you don't see on the stand. So, like, we want something. His words were, "We want something worth buying. Like, we want a unique product." And he was like, "Get weird with it." We did Mike Homing and I did a book called The Victories before this, and Gerard saw it and read it, and he was like, "Get weird like you got weird with The Victories." So that's what I did. And if you notice, like, if you go back to the first issue of Cave Carson versus the, third or fourth issue, um, it starts to come together. The zip tones look a lot more polished than the first issue because I was it wasn't zip tones from scratch. It was zip tones as corrections. So I would kind of know exactly what I wanted to do with them yet. But team had faith in me, and we got there eventually. And we're gonna get into like how I handled the zip tones in a minute. So we kind of have a weird situation here. Like the dude's in the pod. He's being covered in mouths, and the mouths are puking tentacles, and things are not going well for him. Uh, and it's in front of this building. So something we want to keep in mind is that like the sky here and this all has to accentuate the panels above them because we don't want to start competing with the panels themselves. So instead of going like bright reds that it like vibrates and competes with the panel, we're going to actually darken this instead of making it lighter. And we're going to maybe not do that much blue. Yeah, like a purple kind of thing. Yeah, perfect. All right. Let's get into some details on this guy. We don't have to get too. Here's the other thing when coloring comics, like the stuff that you're doing over here, this is not where people are going to be looking like when they read the book. When typically when someone reads a comic book, they spend, maybe a minute on a page. And so you want to convey the information as quickly as possible, as easily as possible. So like we can render a little bit so that it doesn't look like out of place, but I don't want to render too much because if I do, people would be like, "Oh, that building's important to the story," but when it's not. It's just a building that is getting messed up. So yeah, so Gerard kind of put me on the path, and our editor Molly, we had like a little debate going in the beginning as to what we were going to zip tone in the story and like how much of it we were going to use because we were talking about um, Cave, like using the zip tone as a way for like the eye is scanning, you know? Like the eye is looking at XY thing. And so we're going to put zip tone on XY thing. Uh, and we kind of realized that like, there's a lot of great scenes that Cave isn't in that we want to still like convey the look of the book in. So and Gerard pushed for that. He saw that early on. Uh, that we're gonna have to do both. We're gonna have to convey the look when Cave's not around, when the eye's not scanning anything. So he was like just zip tone the whole thing. So we did. We talked about. I made the badges for the first issue too, uh, and we talked about like challenge coins. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Challenge coins are like a military thing, and I was wondering if Cave Carson would have challenge coins, and if we should bother to design them or that kind of thing. So okay, the building on the right is looking like a sore thumb a little bit. So we're gonna try to blend it, uh, make like a transition. Here, we'll grab it here. All right. So maybe we can actually redden it up. No, we're gonna have to make it a little orangey. Yeah, let's make it a little orangey. But now it's looking a little too bright, so let's multiply down a little bit of, yeah, there we go. Yeah, see now it kind of like shrinks into the background in like a really, uh, in a way that doesn't try to dominate the panels around it. I think the windows are kind of interesting, these window shapes that Mike put down here, and patterns are like huge in this book. So, and they kind of make this weird pattern, so we're going to try to highlight that. There we go. And it kind of anchors the bottom of the page here, so that'll work. All right, our buildings are taken care of. We got our vegetables out of the way. I think the only thing that the Eiffel Tower, I mean, like, I think this is steel girder. It's not like one shape like this, because it's like a mesh. Let's figure this out. Let's get all our vegetables out of the way before we get to the fun stuff. All right, perfect, perfect. So I don't know how many of you guys are going to be going to San Diego Comic Con, but I haven't been since like 2006. It's been a long, long time. Uh, so kicking down the Eiffel Tower is kind of like a big part of this page, so we're gonna try to put some highlights back here. Yeah, yeah, they're fucking up Paris. Yeah, so I haven't been since I went in like 2006-ish when I thought all everyone should be going to all cons all the time to get jobs, and obviously this is the biggest con, so it's the perfect place for me, right? Yeah. Well, I am shifting the page around a lot, Daxter. Uh, yeah, I went to San Diego and it was like a shit show. I split a table with a friend and it was like immediately I knew that this was not the place for me. It's like people selling, IPs to companies, and this was even in like '06 before like the whole movie boom happened. Um, so I mean, like I don't know what it's like now, but and I have more of a career now, so maybe there is a place for me, but at the time I was like, wow, I spent a ton of money to get here and barely got anything out of it. Uh, I think that if you're an aspiring colorist, do not trick yourself into thinking, well, I have to go to San Diego because, that's where everybody is. Um, you're going to have a better time uh, trying to talk to people at smaller shows because they're going to have more time on their hands. They're not going to be like, oh, well, I got to meet with X producer or X editor or whatever. If you want to talk to people about working in comics, like, that's your best bet. All right, let's do the smoke. We're gonna highlight the Eiffel Tower so that hopefully people don't have the same problem that you had, Dexter, where you're like, oh shit, that's the Eiffel Tower, and it took me 15 minutes to understand. Like, the goal of the colorist is to figure that out, and in order to highlight it. So we'll get there. I'm gonna do that with some knockouts. I'm gonna colorize the line art so that the shape pops a little more. Uh, but yeah, to talk about I was talking about the zip tone and the notes that this book tries to hit. The other note that it tries to hit is like psychedelic. Like, so when we introduced the whisper, we got to start to think about like what constitutes color-wise, like what constitutes a psychedelic apocalypse. Uh, so we've been playing with that a little. I actually, if you look at the first trade, green is basically, except for in rainbows, and on the Mighty Mole, it's basically devoid in the whole book. It's mostly leans into purples and stuff like that. On the other side of the color wheel, uh, yeah. So I've been since, well, I can't tell you about some of this stuff, but I've been using green a little more with this stuff. Why isn't this working? Huh. I think Mike's layer missed this. Yep, there we go. Yeah, so I get to use green a little more, especially in this last issue because they've crashed at the end of issue 9. They've crashed on a lush foresty kind of planet um, in this dimension. Oh, now I'm on the wrong layer. Genius. Uh, so everything is with the idea of like, what does psychedelic look like now that we're in a green lush forest? What does psychedelic look like now that we are in the apocalypse? What does psychedelic look like underground? Um, and that's what I'm trying to think about when I do each new scene and each new page. And um, so, in addition to like doing the zip tones, doing the patterns, and thinking about like if the pattern is going to be focused on design of the composition or design of the light in the room, I'm also thinking about like, incorporating the zip tone in a way like this stuff over here, where we're trying to make it into its own object. Uh, and then I'm also thinking about like how do we make it psychedelic? How do we make it fit the theme? So all of these things kind of like juggle to various degrees of success. Hopefully, the pages that really sing have all those things in them. All right. It's kind of make it sparking a little bit, like the metals rubbing together. Yeah, perfect. Hell yeah. All right. All right, now that we got kind of that out of the way, these guys are going to shrink into the background a little bit, but we don't really know what the background is yet. So let's just handle the whisper up here. So the whisper has begun to change this creature's biology. Um, there's the creature at the end of issue 6, the like centipede-like thing. Uh, she's kind of turning into that, but not really, but kind of. I don't know. This is why we need the guest. This is why we need John here to break this shit down. Uh, but yeah, so we're gonna be trying to figure that out, and I mean the cover got spoiled, so there's like a new kind of version, and in the in this last issue. Well, let's not get into it then. But I have to make him look like not another character, if that makes sense. I have to use a palette that's different so that they are both recognizable when they start going toe to toe, which is a concern. So this stuff is supposed to be real gross. So we're gonna make it like detailed and weird, and then on the bottom down here, especially in the foot, we're gonna add reflected light from the fire. Kind of make her like the sky's lighting her up on the top, and then reflected light is lighting her up on the bottom. So I was talking about how I'm juggling these themes, and at the same time as I'm juggling those themes for the book, hey fish, uh, I'm also trying to keep in mind that each individual character, and I just kind of like talked about this for a second, each individual character kind of has their own color schemes as well. When we introduced Wild Dog on that cover, he had this kind of like green, blue, yellow kind of vibe to him, and it plays off of the blue and yellow that is in his jersey. And so I've tried to use that every time that Wild Dog has a big moment. I've tried to echo that color scheme so that it gives a nod to the reader, like you want to pay attention to this. This is Wild Dog's moment. Uh, so when he interacts with things, when someone is important to him, for the tired people, yeah, I hear you, man. So yeah, when Wild Dog interacts with things, when someone's important to him, it's gonna be kind of pinged with this blue, yellow, green kind of thing. Uh, I'm sipping on some coffee, by the way, to battle the tired, battle the whisper from taking me. Um, and then Cave and Chloe, I wanted them to match because despite whatever bullshit they're going through, which they're gonna go through some bullshit, they're still the Carsons. So, um, Chloe and Cave have an echo back to the suits that get made by Christine in the old Silver Age Cave Carsons. So those suits were red and white. So Cave keeps his red shirt, and Chloe keeps her red hoodie with white trim to show that, like, she is, despite all of her bullshit she's got with her dad, um, she is Team Carson. And Mike designed those suits to be kind of an echo of that. So I was riffing off of. Uh, that's good. Well, we're glad to have you. For anybody that misses any of these in the future, uh, 9:30 p.m. God, you guys got to be on like the other side of the globe. I don't know where are you guys or girls? But for anyone who is gonna miss this, Germany, yeah. Uh, well, welcome. Uh, yeah, for anyone who is gonna miss this, I am gonna like port it to YouTube. The VOD is gonna stay on Twitch, I think, for a couple of weeks. Uh, so it will not be lost to the ages, but you will lose the ability to ask any questions. All right. We're gonna do the legs kind of separately because I have a special treatment for the legs. When we started working on the Whisper, it was interdimensional, and I wanted it to seem like maybe it wasn't totally here. Uh, Maybe the Whisper was walking. While it was walking, it was like phasing through dimensions as it moved. So it kind of has this like ghosted leg crawl thing. I don't know. But yeah, that was my thought process when we started designing the Whisper. Um, and we're gonna get into that in like a second. But let's this weird body that the Whisper is changing. Let's work on that first. All right. So we put the shadow in, but that's only like half the story. We're going to kind of add a little bit of light to the top and add a little bit of light to the bottom because we want the fire to be accenting the foot and everything. Yeah, lighten it up. All right. So that kind of starts to get us in the ballpark. She's so tall. I always think of the Whisper as a she, by the way. I don't know if the Whisper is a she. I don't know if John or Gerard has referenced the Whisper as a she in the book. I don't know if that's like I don't know if that's head canon or actual canon. But at any rate, the Whisper, she is going to be kind of like blending into the background a little bit here. And so I know I want to so we haven't touched the background yet, but I know that the background's going to be popping against like the fire, so we're not going to do anything red. We're going to do something like cool colors, and it's also night, and it's going to be psychedelic, so maybe just like a rainbow kind of thing we're going to work on. But I know that like up here, she's going to be blending into the background because she's so far away from the ground. So let's execute on that. And we're gonna also we're gonna lose detail. So as you see now, like the highs and the lows are closer than they are here, and that's because as she fades into the background into the night, she's she's gonna be like less seen, more of a silhouette. Okay, that's starting to look good, but here's the thing. The Whisper is making her real fucking gross. So let's make her gross. And the way we're gonna make her gross is kind of just like covering her in kind of like shines and sheens, like a frog or like uh, like boils and nasty, nasty stuff. We're gonna just like add a bunch of weird highlights and like she's also kind of like covered in spores, like most of the Whisper stuff has been. And we're gonna get into adding fog and stuff up here too, because the Whisper also like has like a fog of spores that are yellow. So we're gonna try to render these as best as we can, but they don't have to be perfect. So yeah, the Whisper, I was talking about color schemes for people. So Cave and Chloe are kind of this like red and white, and that's important to keep in mind for the designs that are going to happen in this next issue coming out tomorrow. But so Chloe and Cave are kind of red and white, and then Wild Dog's kind of this blue and yellow, and then the Mulldog creature or people are they're not creatures uh, are kind of like this burnt red from being underground with light eyes. Uh, and then they're going to be they're gonna so they have that red and blue. So they kind of like bridge the gap in Team Carson. That was very purposeful. Like so they have the blue of Wild Dog and they have the red of uh, Cave. And the reason for that is because they kind of like fill both roles on the team. Like Wild Dog is kind of there in my eyes as like when something needs to die, Wild Dog steps up and does the work. Uh, and then when something needs to be figured out, Cave kind of steps up and does that. And so and the soldiers kind of like fill both roles. Like they educate, but they also and they have like vocal contributions as well as combat contributions. So they're like kind of the even though they're I mean I don't want to say they're like the red shirts because they actually kind of like stuck around longer than I thought they were going to. Uh, I know arching plot stuff, but I don't know like details like that because I think that that kind of stuff gets solved as we work. Um, So yeah, like John and Gerard solve that stuff, and then they hand the script to me, and then I get to it. So they actually hung out longer than I thought they were going to, which is great. Uh, and I hope that their roles start to expand a little bit. So yeah, so that's that. And then the Whisper I wanted kind of different than all of the other schemes that were going on. So what colors are not being used? Like a weird purple and like this orange red uh for like the leg. It's like an orange, it's not quite the red of Cave Carson and it's not quite the yellow of Wild Dog. It's kind of fits in the middle. Um so that way when you read and you spend your like 30 seconds on a page or whatever as you read, I'm trying to make everything as easy as possible for you to understand what's going on. Because there's like Mike puts down, like I said before, like he tries a lot of experimental panel arrangements and stuff like that. And so, um, not only am I there to make it look pretty, but make it less heavy lifting for you to figure out if it is a particular panel layout that is a little more difficult that maybe seasoned comic vets would get, but maybe people who are new to comics might not, because it does have its own kind of language to it. So yeah, that's my thought process, and why I think Mike and I work so well together is because he's trying new stuff out, and I'm like, okay, I get where you're thinking with this. Now let's streamline it. Let's make it perfect. You know, let's refine it. And this comes from just like, we were a good pair back in the day, but like we've been working together forever now. We are turning into tired old men in comics. But yeah. So yeah, Cave tries to hit all those notes while also juggling schemes for each character. Uh, Thank you. I'm trying, man. Like I feel like I want to make the book especially accessible to anyone who wants to pick it up, because I know there's a lot of like Gerard Way fans who might not have read a whole lot of comics, you know? Um, and I want to welcome them in, you know? Like I want them to have a good time with this, as much of a good time that I'm having with it, you know? Um, because I think that there is something special here. Uh, and they may not realize it because they might not have read a whole lot of comics before, but this book is definitely unique and special. There's not a whole lot of projects that come together this well with a team this exciting, doing you know this much solid work. Yeah, cool. That's great. I love to hear that. Yeah, I mean, not that Mike puts a lot of problems down, but he does try a lot of things. And so while we experiment, like, he throws me some curveballs every once in a while, and I hope that everything stays legible. Uh, all right. So we kind of have like, oh, somebody just followed. I missed it. Did I miss it? Meyer Yara, thank you for the follow. I think I said that right. I read it really quickly because it was fading on my screen. I swear to God, I'm a professional at this. Uh, yeah, I'm not quite a professional at streaming quite yet, but uh, I am when it comes to coloring. Yeah, that was kind of one of the things that I knew because Mike likes to experiment a lot, and I want to make sure that everybody got a chance to read it and we didn't scare anyone off, but still kept the fucking weird shit that he's doing. Like cool shit, but like still keep everyone on board for the run, however long it lasts. Hopefully, it lasts a long time because I love this book. In case you can't tell. So we're just putting a little lighting from underneath, kind of trying to. The goal of this is to just kind of like pop the silhouette a little bit. So that you can see the whole foot. And the kneecap here, so that stuff doesn't get lost. Yeah, there we go. So she's looking pretty gross. We might add actually some like stark white Just a little bit of stark white. Especially in the foot because it's like right in front of the fire. But let's do it up here as well, just a little bit. So hopefully the stark white and the foot being lit and the fire eventually we're gonna knock out the line art and the fire will kind of like direct the eye in the direction that we want. Um, that's the goal anyway. For the foot, for everything to be legible and yeah. Does it really? I didn't realize that Germany had a different release date. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, staying current on, especially if you buy like a lot of books, is really difficult. Uh, yeah, thank you very much for that. I hope that you enjoy stuff that I do. There's actually, I think below me, down there, there's a bunch of books that I'm working on that are coming out either this month or have already come out this month. Uh, I don't know, like I always try to. It takes time for yeah, yeah. Uh, I don't know if you are into romance crime books, but Heartthrob is very very good. It's obviously very different than this. It's about a girl who gets a heart transplant in the 70s and starts seeing the person whose heart it is, and he convince he she like falls in love with him, and uh, they decide to start robbing some banks, put his old crew back together. He's a con man and a thief, and kind of where the relationship goes from there, and uh, things get crazy. I don't want to spoil anything, but the first trade just came out. It's only $10 American. I don't know what it is in Germany, but uh, it's one of the more fun things that I'm working on right now. I got a bunch of other stuff too that's like, in the pipeline. Issue 5? Weird. Huh. Well, so I've been toying with the idea of actually setting up a shop and selling some comp copies and stuff like that. So hopefully, if you have gaps in the runs, I might be able to help you out in the future. I gotta set up an Etsy shop, figure it all out. But I mean, man, it's like I only have so much time in the day, and like the Etsy shop won't exactly be profitable. I'd be doing it for you guys, for you, the people, uh, more than anything else. All right, all right, we got to figure out. Okay, we've hit the point where we got to figure out the background. Whoops. Because like these guys have to kind of fade into the background in like a weird way where their silhouette still works. Uh, If you're missing issue 5, though, you should be able to pick up the trade paperback, and that has 1 through 6 in it, if you're inclined. All right, so what are we gonna do? Let's figure it out. So I said that we didn't want to do. Let's just do this and see how it looks. This will give a good starting point. That is a pretty good starting point. That shit's maybe a little too wild. Yeah, I go to a lot of conventions, but they're all here in the States, and I bring stuff with me then, but yeah, I gotta figure out how to especially put single issues in the hands of in the hands of people that want the single issues, you know. So we want to go light, but we also want to go post-apocalyptic. So here's the worry. Here's the hurdles that we have to get over. All right. Uh, we're gonna mess with the pattern too. Maybe that's where we should be thinking about things. Um, but the hurdles that we have to hit is this has to be the Eiffel Tower has to be visible. These guys in silhouette have to be visible, and the whole thing has to arc in this direction so that you read this part and then you read this part and all this. So we want to be able to draw the eye. So maybe instead of messing with the background, we mess with the like Kirby dots that Mike put down. That's not what I want. That looks real weird. That also looks weird. A lot of this book is experimenting because no two pages are really exactly the same. Yeah, if when I do set up an Etsy account, it'll be I'll post it on my Twitter. If you're following me on Twitter, you'll see it there. And I'll also probably post a link below in like the description for the stream too. So this is starting to look a little bit better. Uh, let's kind of mess with the background a little bit. So there's also something to keep in mind. Um, whoa, we're doing rainbows on top of rainbows. That's probably not a good idea. So the other thing to keep in mind is like, while this whole shit is crazy, we also need to like make these panels legible. And we've started to color this stuff for some reason. It's getting like the whatever. We'll fix it. We'll fix it in post. Yeah. So we got to make everything work. I need a second to think about that. I wonder if we. Oh, that's weird. It's like part of the. See, this is what happens when God bless Mike for, freaking doing this. Because it does save me a lot of work and gives me his intention of what he wants to do with the page. But for some reason, this shape was selected um, in the layer. So now we've gotten rid of it. Yeah. Oh, it's because. Yeah. All right. We're on board. We're back in business. Um, oh, that kind of looks all right, but let's mess with it. So we're gonna duplicate it, and then we're gonna take it in. And I wanted to start messing with this for the new issues, like pulling out channels. Maybe do a screen instead. Whoa! Now we're talking. We're on to something. Pull the magenta out. Whoa. That's tripped. Yeah. So like now we're starting to get into like this psychedelic kind of freaking insanity, uh, which I dig. But like I said, we want to be looking here, and then we want to be looking here. And Mike gave us like this light on top. So the top of this should be a little darker. So we're gonna just like pop a new layer above and maybe just throw a grad in and see what happens to see if we're on the right track. This isn't final. We're just gonna see if we're on the right track. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay. So now let's do it right. I wonder if I can actually pull it out in the alpha channels that I set up. Yeah. All right. So we don't want the fire. And then we don't want these panels, so we're going to trace them out, deselect them. Yeah. All right, I know this is super boring, but tracing out these panels, but we're going to tough it out, you and me. I probably should have popped these into an alpha channel as well so that I can always deselect them if needed. All right. Okay, we're going to deselect because we don't want to put any of that grad on any of the black lines, and apparently the smoke didn't get deselected over here. So let's fix that. Yeah, it's not selected in the alpha channel. Okay. Yeah, now we're just tracing line art, and I know this is not thrilling, but this is part of the job. So another thing that I kind of wanted to add is, so this is at night, and we're messing with the sky, and if possible, it might get too busy because we have that crazy swirling pattern at the top, but I'd like to put down some stars, but perfect for that. Yeah, pretty relaxing. Yeah, I mean, it's like you watch something unfold very slowly, really. That's the thing about like streams like this is, with art, you just kind of like push it all together. You slowly whittle it down from general to specific until it works. Oh yeah, that's starting to look good. Okay, let's fade it. All right. So there's a couple things that does. It makes this stuff like pop a little bit better. Um, it makes this pop a little bit better, which is like like that arc, the light at the top of the Eiffel Tower, is huge to giving the direction of the page. So we want to try to not drown that out if possible. Um, I know we talked about stars. Let's see if we can actually put some stars in. Before we do that though, let's just try something. Just like messing with the color slider to see what kind of colors we get when we mess with the gradient we put over the whole thing. But I think blue might actually be where we want. Because like this stuff, okay, so when it's orange, it starts to compete with what's going on down at the bottom of the page. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing is like I feel like, when you see a finished thing, especially in any kind of art, you see a finished thing and you're like, I don't know how they got there. It like how did they make it look so good so fast? It's just like finished this completed monster. And when you see all the little steps in between, you're like, oh, it makes sense how they got there. They tried a little bit at a time, and stuff that worked they kept, stuff that didn't they threw away. So what I was saying with this is, by making it orange, what we're looking at right now, it's competing with the bottom of the page, and that's not what we want. Yeah, so it's starting to create like a visual white noise, which is not where we want to be. We want to be like directing the eye as best we can. So let's do that, and then let's put some stars down just to see how they look, but we don't necessarily have to keep them. And the only reason I'm doing this now is because I already have the selection. The selection for the gradient is the same selection that we would do if we were going to put stars in. So let's just see how they look. This is just like a little scan of a splatter that I made ages ago. Yeah, so the stars actually look pretty good. We can refine them later. And we can change the colors of the stars as well. Yeah, yeah, now we're cooking with gas. Yeah, I like that aqua. So that aqua is like not really represented in the page at all, but like, and it would not happen in real life. Uh, oh, different colors for the stars. Well, I would, but like, so if it starts to be like different colors for the stars, then we start to have the problem of like, we want to focus the eye, and if the stars are like three different colors and they're like popping like crazy, then the eye doesn't focus on the stuff we want it to focus on. It focuses on the stars. So we want the stars to just be kind of a whisper of what's going on up here, and we'll tweak them later. But for right now, I kind of want to handle these guys in the back, and we'll label the layer so that we don't lose track. All right, let's handle these guys. So the Whisper's cronies back here, uh, they don't have to be as well rendered as she is, because they aren't as important as she is. All right. And we're going to try to blend them into the background a little bit. So we're going to take a darker color up here and kind of just multiply it down. Ideally, if I was drawing the page, I would have kind of done these guys in silhouettes. Um, but so that's kind of where my head is at as far as like legibility. Is like, let's kind of make these guys into silhouettes. Yeah, I mean, if you ever wanted a giant with a metal codpiece to knock over the Eiffel Tower, here you go. Right, Magi? Uh, but I mean, this is like par for the course for this book. Like we do a lot of bizarre and a little bit on the not safe for work side, but like not really, Uh, we just try to do different things. Push the envelope just a little. Yeah, literally dick slapping the Eiffel Tower. Yep, yep. Not safe for life side. Yeah. Not safe for Parisians in the Eiffel Tower, that's for sure. So, when I rendered the Whisper, I kind of like took my time, like rendered everything very carefully. Um, for these guys, we don't have to do that because they're less of a concern. They're less of a higher contrast. Um, and we want the reader to like understand, oh, the Whisper has like done to these guys what done to these giants what it was doing to human beings in the last couple issues, and that's all we need. That's all the information. So they don't have to be as like noodled on. They don't have to be as rendered or perfect or whatever. So Uh, and we're gonna, after we do this, we're gonna get into making sure that everybody sees that the Eiffel Tower has indeed been dick slapped. I'm gonna try to make that as legible as possible. So yeah, now these guys are kind of like. The other thing too is like, if these creatures are gigantic, which they clearly are, um, if three of them are gonna occupy space, it's gonna be like the space of like a city or a small town, you know? So these guys are going to be far in the background, which means they're gonna kind of like blend to the background a little bit more. Now, this is kind of like exploding, so we're gonna just put a little shine on the object, and then let's put a little highlight. Uh, and let's put a little bit of fire down here. And let's just make sure that the tip of this thing is the right color by shifting it a little bit red. Yeah, see, this is the thing. That there's like a running gag that The Simpsons have where no matter what kind of vehicle is in the chase or whatever, everything everything explodes. It's like 007 GoldenEye on the N64. Like you shoot the chair and the chair explodes. Comics are kind of like that. So maybe this is better with a slider. There we go. So let's slide it and then fade it a little. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Mike could have put that explosion less as a like uh, literal explosion and more as like a hey, you should be looking here. Like stuff's happening. Pow. You know, like that kind of comics language. Um, but we're gonna literally explode it. So we have the duplicate interacting with the explosion here, so we're going to try to just kind of get that out of there. All right. And we're going to actually assume that the Eiffel Tower is far enough away from the explosions, because if the Eiffel Tower is getting dick slapped, it's got to be farther away than the fire. So let's push it back. Yeah, Pow would have looked weird there, but that's the mentality. The like, yeah. So I'm just fading it back. Yeah, so it works a little better like that. Um, so because of the way that we set up color in this book as kind of like there are no rules as far as like working with the line art. Um, we're gonna knock out this cut. We're hitting the point where we're gonna start like doing some of the finer things to the image, like knocking out the line art, that kind of thing. We're starting to narrow in on like where we want to be. Uh, and because we set up this language of like, there are no rules, like we're gonna highlight the Eiffel Tower by like knocking out some of the edges and stuff and popping the silhouette a little more. Uh, it's gonna be transformative. I promise. All right. So by coloring that line art, it went from like I'm a solid object to like I'm not a solid object, which is a good goal. But instead of like coloring the do I keep in mind about the fold? Not really. The more I think about the fold, the more like I'll be caught up in my own brain. You know what I mean? Uh, like if I think about the fold, I won't stop thinking about the fold, and then it's weird too because we exist in this space now where there's digital comics and there's paper comics, and there's even within paper comics there's the regular floppy comic that is single issue that you're going to be able to see everything in the fold. And then there's the bound trade that you might not, depending on the process they use to bind the trade, you might not see everything that's in the fold. So I can't begin to like start to fucking deal with that shit. uh, but yeah. So to make a long story short, no, I don't think about the fold. Um, because I can't. So we're gonna take chunks of the Eiffel Tower and just kind of like pop the we're going to be like, all right, it's less about making a form not solid and more about trying to highlight light hitting a form that Mike has drawn all in black. So that's what we're going to try to do. So we're just grabbing, like, I'm assuming that the light is coming from, like, up here, the light is coming from the light here. So we're going to try to run with that. And then down here, it's less about an accurate light source and more about like how do we pop the silhouette, pop the figure, so that everything's legible. White Olender, thank you for following. Uh, yeah, so like we want to make it, like I said, easy to read. You don't want to be like, what's that building? And then you go, oh no, he dick slapped the Eiffel Tower. We want to be like, you open the book and you're like, holy crap, he dick slapped the Eiffel Tower. So let's get you to that point. I'm gonna help you. We're gonna get there. So we're starting to get there. We're actually gonna deal with this stuff separately. So I'm gonna use a color that's not really down on this page. Uh, Shit. This is what happens when you work on psychedelic books. Every color is on the page already. You know what? We could just fix this. We could just deal with this instead of trying to put it off for later. Yeah. So there we go. And we'll pop a little bit of highlights in there too in a minute, but we will deal with that in a second. Um, so this is starting to look good, but we're gonna actually try to do some of the lattice work as well, and we're just gonna do that on the fly with the brush. So I'm selecting everything, and then I'm deselecting the white. So just the black is selected, and then we turn off the lines. So the lines are still selected, but so I can't, start coloring in the open areas. Like here, won't happen, but like I can grab all the line art all at once if I want to. We're gonna crank that up to 100. Yeah, so like, yeah, now I can be like, oh, okay. Uh, so so let's just mess with kind of what's going on in here. Are you guys anti-Eiffel Tower? We want to delete the tower from existence? Doesn't seem right. I'm sure it's a beautiful tower. I mean, it's already getting dick slapped. There's not a whole lot I can do to it at this point. I'm just trying to make sure you notice. All right. So we're just kind of like tweaking the lattice work here so that you can easily identify the tower. Yeah. Uh, so I think that the aliens are wearing I mean they're not even like aliens, they're like interdimensional beings. Uh, so I think that they are wearing cod pieces. So hopefully when humanity if humanity gets to bounce back from this, um, they will get to they'll get to build a structure out of the alien codpiece eventually. Maybe to replace the Eiffel Tower. I mean, human beings, they endure great tragedy and they recover. Also, how great would a news report of this be? Like in this world, the local news being like tragedy in Paris today. Yeah. You should Dexter, you should be reading this book. Like if that shocked you, like I don't know, like I feel like this is I'm like I don't even get phased by it. I'm like, okay, so that happened. All right, next page, next page. All right. So the cross hatching that he did down here is kind of like all over the place. I don't blame him. Like trying to render the whole Eiffel Tower is uh got to be a pain in the butt. So let's just kind of like pop so that this looks kind of shiny. Yeah. All right. So that it ties this whole thing together. So we're gonna try something experimental. I don't know if this is gonna work, but we're gonna try it out. Let's save before we do anything, and then cross our fingers that the save goes okay. 92, 92, 92, 93. Yeah, exactly. That's my thought, is that, they would hollow out the organic material and then make a tower out of it. Uh 95% saved. All right, we're saved. Okay. Um we're going to try to use a little crosshatch brush with a white on top of the background but under the stars. Um I don't really use these crosshatch brushes for anything, the crosshatch brushes. So I don't know what is going to be the best one for it. Actually, can we just search in the brush box? The brush box is going to crash us. Yeah, so we want something like that. I wonder if it's actually if it's pressure sensitive. Oh, Kyle Webster, you're a dream. He's the guy who made these brushes. That's not what we want. Yeah, I think that's what we want. So we're going to add a little lattice work in the white. Learning a lot about towers. Yeah. How's it going, Matt? Matt is also a very talented uh, colorist, and he should come on the stream sometime. So this is kind of looking like shit. Let's maybe erase some of it and it'll look better. Question mark. I mean, I don't know. It adds like a layer of texture on top. Maybe it's fine. Maybe it's not. It doesn't really like convey what I want it to convey, so we're gonna get rid of it. It was a nice experiment, but we're done with that. All right. So we got a couple things left, and then I think we're gonna be done. I want to polish up the stars, but we're gonna handle the whisper first. So the whisper has these tentacles that kind of like walk through dimensions. So we're going to convey that by colorizing the line art of the tentacles and then duplicating it and then kind of like offsetting it like it's been like a printer error, like they couldn't quite capture what the whisper is doing. And then we're going to add some smoke and spores, because what is the whisper without smoke and spores? And we're actually going to highlight the skulls too. We've got like there's a lot of like little things in Cave Carson that like the piece will look finished and then it'll be like a half an hour of like little stuff that needs to be fixed. Smoke and spores, always. So we're gonna do that. maybe a little darker. Yeah. Um, and then we're going to copy it, paste it, offset it, turn it into a different color, and then set it to screen. Yeah. Actually, that should probably be above everything. Yeah, there we go. It was getting drowned out by the sky. That was the problem. Maybe fuck with the size a little bit if it Photoshop decides to cooperate with me. Photoshop is not going to decide to cooperate with me. Okay. I don't know what you mean, Zach. This is a perfectly regular comic book page. This is the exact type of thing you get in any comic book you pick up. Captain America, uh, Squirrel Girl, uh, you know, vintage Peanuts comics. This is what it looks like. This is what you get. No, no, no. She brought it. She brought it with her. She's not disturbed by it. All right. Let's punch out the smoke back here because it's kind of competing with everything going on. We gotta knock out the fire, but let's do the smoke and spores because that stuff's fun. All this stuff, all the special effects stuff ends up on separate layers, but the all of the actual like nuts and bolts coloring basically all happens on the background layer. Um, Cave is a really heavy book when it comes to special effects and that kind of thing. So we're just gonna stamp some of this like watercolor kind of brush for smoke and then kind of tweak it from there. There we go. So we kind of made it bigger than we wanted it in order to eventually whittle it down. All right. And then we're going to put some spores in. We probably should put the spores on a separate layer so we can do the same thing and then combine the layers to the smoke and the spores. All right, so now it looks like it's breathing out these disgusting things, which is perfect. It's just what the Whisper wants to do. We're gonna knock out this stuff, these like cracks in the armor that it's like making into this being. we're just gonna do that with the brush, but we need to make the appropriate selections. There we go. So the armor and the cracks in it are a callback to issue 6, but I'm not quite sure how I did it back then. That was like, what, 5 months ago, 6 months ago? So yeah, that's forever ago. And I'm like I said, I'm not quite sure how I did it back then. So I'm gonna put these in as like kind of a placeholder, and then uh, go back, especially if the whisper is showing up on other pages, and do this kind of like all at once. So for now, this is just a placeholder. I don't know if it's actually going to be yellow when it hits print, or blue when it hits print. Vintage Peanuts comics are black and white. Somebody banned Zach. He's pointed out my shortcomings. This is a no bully stream. Somebody bully him. But yeah, like I was saying in the beginning of the stream, we were talking about how like, arresting this image is, uh, and it is truly arresting. But we were talking about how the art direction was we wanted to make something. That's all right. Get them on board. That's how you grab their attention. Uh, you grab the attention via dick slapping the Eiffel Tower with a codpiece, and then you keep them coming back to the comic with the interesting father and daughter dynamics within the book. Really, it's a book about family, really. Cave Carson. It's a book about family. It is about family, which is the funny thing. I'm not lying. Yeah, classic bait and switch. So this is looking close to done. Oh, we got to do the fire. We'll do the fire real quick. I might actually tweak the Eiffel Tower a little bit more, but other than that, I think we're getting close to this side being finished. Yeah. Well, this book isn't really a superhero book. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about all the books I'm working on right now, and I'm employed by DC and Marvel, but like, and Oni Press and uh, Skybound and Image, but the books that I'm working on are all like from DC and Marvel are like kind of fringe books. Like I'm working on Young Animal with Gerard Way and never I'm working on this, and I'm working on Deadpool, which is also kind of he's like a fringe book in that not that he's like nobody knows who Deadpool is. Obviously everybody knows who Deadpool is, but he's not really a superhero. He's like this like jackass in a comic book with ultra violence, and you can what I was saying before about like you know we can knock out the girders on the Eiffel Tower here and it looks totally normal because we've set up a language that is persistent through the book where like visually all bets are off. we're going to do whatever we want. And if it was a regular DC, like if it was Superman, I might not be able to do that because Superman has a language and baggage that comes attached to it. Um, so if your friends don't like superhero comics, they might actually love this. So, because I feel like it's something that straddles the line, and like most of my books are like that. American Way with Academy Award-winning John Ridley is about it's about superheroes, but it's about like racial struggles in the 70s, really. Um, and it's about like the abuse that these people got put through. Uh, and this book is about Cave Carson, who is like, I guess technically a superhero, but it's really about family and interdimensional beings and like, just like all these kind of like weird sub themes. Uh, and then like the other stuff that I'm working on is like, I mean, I can't get into the Skybound stuff because it's not released yet. I actually just turned in issue 6 of that, so it should maybe get announced soon. Because they wait till 6 issues are in before they put it together. Um, Family might as well be interdimensional beings. Yeah, you're not wrong. Uh, but yeah, so I feel like all the books that I'm doing, even though they're quote unquote superhero books, it's not like I'm working on Superman or like Batman. I'm working on like this weird shit. Like and the goal, like I was saying in the beginning, the goal was to make something different, to make something worth buying, uh, to not blend in. And I think we've accomplished that. So, all right, fire is taken care of. I'm going to deselect this stuff. So the fire, some of the line art in the fire is like slightly blending in, so especially on the bottom here, so we're gonna maybe lighter is the solution, not darker. Yeah. Okay. Um, let's make the fire glow, because it is fire. So on a screen layer above everything, we are going to just pull some orange grads through the thing so it has like kind of a haze to it. Do the same here. Yeah, this is looking good. I think we're mostly done. Uh, I want to flesh out the other side of this. So I kind of want to darken the other side of the tower here. That is weird that there are weird pixels in here. What is that about? That is about using Mike's screen and not making my own. I'm going to fix that in post, off stream. But yeah, so we're going to give it a little bit of a sense of depth by just adding a dark side to it. A dark, sinister side to the Eiffel Tower. Yeah, that makes it a little better. So, odd pixels, yeah. This would not be the first time that a stray pixel has ended up in a place it shouldn't have been. Uh, so okay, this is kind of where I think we're gonna stop, but I wanted to highlight all we did on the stream because it happened slowly over time. I'm gonna handle this off stream another time because we've already been streaming for like an hour 47, but it's saving right now, so I don't want to mess with it. So we did everything on the left side, and I think that we've directed the eye diagonally from top left to bottom right, which is the goal of this book. Like we want the and I mean Mike gave us the ultimate freaking stop sign or signpost with the light from the tower, but like the book should read like you should start here. Let's use white. You should start here and like look at this and then here or here and then down. Uh, and I think that we got there. I think that we've cracked some solutions on this that I didn't necessarily intend to when we started. Yeah, I got to figure out how to do more time lapses, but just for shits and giggles, you want to see where we started 2 hours ago? This is where we started 2 hours ago. And this was already tweaked from the flats. I had already kind of prepped it, but you can see like the difference made between where we started 2 hours ago and whoops, not that far forward. That. So thank you for joining me here for Cave Carson has a cybernetic eye. New comic book day is tomorrow. Tomorrow on New Comic Book Day, we're also going to be doing a Last of Us. Yeah, it's the goal is to get it to be easy to read. That's like first and foremost, it's got to serve the narrative. The colors have to serve the narrative and make it easy to read on you. If the colors are all over the place, they won't do that. So there's a few things we got to tweak in this image, like those stray pixels that I was saying, but like this stuff is going to be easy to read by the time we're done. I'm going to mess with the patterns. I'm going to create some patterns for the other side. And you know what? Maybe we'll stream that. Maybe we'll stream that down the line. Thank you very much. So, yeah, we're going to be streaming on Wednesday. We're going to be streaming some Last of Us, at least an hour of it, around 8 or 8:30. We've got I got a Heartthrob cover on deck that I got to do this week, and I was going to stream that as well. Tomorrow is New Comic Book Day, which means Cave Carson 10 is out, which is the issue before this issue that we worked on today. And Heartthrob Season 2, Issue 2 is out. So if you had picked up the trade, go to the shop, pick up the Issue 1, and pick up Issue 2. And I think that's everything that's coming out tomorrow. And like I said, we're going to be streaming Last of Us, and then we're going to be streaming at least a Heartthrob cover. I might do the other half of this depending on how fast pages are going to be turned around. I'm not going to take any Gerard Way requests. Sorry. uh, yeah. We don't talk. We talk professionally, but we don't talk socially. So, um, you know. But you feel free to ping them. You're on your own to check out your stuff. Um, yeah, and if you miss any of the streams going forward, you can always follow here. It'll email you when I go live, and if you go on YouTube, I have a YouTube link below me. If you miss anything, you can catch it there. But thanks for hanging out, guys, and we're gonna do some more Cave Carson in the future, as well as some American Way and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. Bye, guys.